Was that Blast? Make sure my camera's working. What's up? How you doing? Tell me if you can hear me. I'm actually on my computer this time. So, trying a different setup this time. See, it doesn't look that bad when it's actually being streamed. I kicked it on accident. Yeah. I'm assuming you can hear me. I don't know if you can. Okay, I just want to know if you could hear me or not. Okay, cool. Cool. You tell I'm not professional. Something like microphones in the way. Pain. Keeps on coming back. Needed D20. it's still not heavy enough. Damn. Okay. That'll work. I got something. Sure this is out of the way so I can actually open the book when it comes time. Yeah, that's such a small space. It's way too far down now. Right there. That's the best we got. Yeah, I keep on hitting it with my foot. Yes, situate the microphone situation. Just pull a little bit more. Put it right here and then just rotate it again. And it's the best we're gonna get for a microphone at least. Yeah, sorry if I'm like hitting the microphone really bad. This is such a tight space. It's crazy. That is metal. I don't know where that metal came from. That was metal. Hello, gentle beings. I'm gonna put this off to the side. Yeah, I can get this to the side. Okay, that'll be a lot easier to tell what I'm doing now I'm looking at it that way. Okay. This is a very congested area. Oof. There we go. No. I'm not doing that again. There we go. He's ready to read. That's good. try to get a little bit started. That way I can line up all the book when it's all the way open. So let's get a little started. This is gonna be a pain, I bet. This is such a small area. That's fine. Okay. First of all, I think we're gonna put it right here. Let me check. Try and line this up. So it looks nice. I'm ready. I think hiding in the corner is not going to be that bad. There we go. About here is going to be appropriate. Does that look? Oh yeah, that looks nice. Have it right there. I just don't want to hold anything down. Hold that side down. Grab it. It's not a bad idea, actually. Oh no, this thing gets outweighed. That's insane. I don't really actually have a weight. It's kind of weird saying that I don't. Maybe future investment. Oh, okay, what's it look like? It needs to come down a little bit down. A little bit forward. That's good. Richness. You can see the corner on this one. You can't see the corner here. You can see the corner here though. So it needs to be pulled over a little bit. Not bad. Okay. I'm gonna tear this page. For some reason I feel like that first page is really small. Don't worry guys, it's my book, I can crease it if I want to. At least it shows that I'm using it, right? Okay. Let's see if I can do anything for you guys. Oh yeah, if you full screen, you can see everything, pretty much. Pretty much. Can't we get more situated? Yeah, so, Van Richten's guide, I honestly probably should just have a microphone on my freaking shirt because it sounds way better. I'll do that next time though. Well, anyways, Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is obviously a supplement. It's meant for a campaign setting that you create in a horror themed D&D situation. Still a bit too loud, I don't know. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. It's a horror theme thing. I got the special edition, which would be. Let me get. I'm gonna do it this way. I can actually tell I'm doing the right thing. This would be this. I got the pre-order version, so it's more fancy looking. But I usually generally do that. It helps to support the stores, the local stores. Anyways, the book itself is actually broken down into 5 sections. We got character creation, creating domains of dread, domains of Ravenloft, which are different domains of dread, horror adventures, and monsters of Ravenloft. So, at least in today's stream, we're probably just going to go over character creation, as that was one of the most interesting parts of this in the first place, because there's a lot of new races now that you can play as based on lineage, like the Dim Pure, Hex Blood, and Reborn. Dark Gifts are also very interesting. They're sort of like Eldritch gentrifications for Warlock, but for anyone. Like a Warlock, you do have to make some kind of deal usually to get it, but sometimes you're just born with it as well. Some new subclasses, one for Bard, College Spirits, and the Warlock, the Undead. The Undead was actually broken in the UA, but they did fix it to once a turn, extra damage instead of whenever you do damage, which was what made it broken. We also have some new backgrounds, and always, of course, I love trinkets, so we have some horror trinkets as well. That'll be the main focus for the stream. If we get through that, then we can see what you guys want to look into. Probably just more into the monsters, because usually everyone's interested in the monsters and character creation mainly. But we can always go into something else. If you guys are there, go ahead and shout in the chat so I can see that you're here. Trust me, it makes me feel a lot better. That's fine. But we are going to start with chapter 1. I'm probably just going to skip the introduction, because if anyone has ever played D&D, you probably played through Curse of Strahd or had gone through some Ravenloft material. So I'm going to skip because it's basically just the traditional vampire for fantasy, unless you guys in the chat want to read through it. But I'm actually just going to go ahead and skip to page 12 in character creation. And we're going to start with an intro to the Haunted Heroes page. Because character creation is definitely the more interesting part of what I'm actually looking into. So we are on the character creation intro page. Basically here it just goes over the different things that are going to be in character creation, such as haunted heroes, lineages, dark gifts, subclass options, backgrounds, and horror trinkets, like I already mentioned. It's just a general briefing of the whole entire thing. And the reason why I'm skipping that is because they're just going to go into detail anyways when we get there. Let's see. Haunted Heroes Introduction. Ravenloft encourages you and your group to safely explore the thrill of all manner of ghost stories, mysteries, and other tales of terror. While Chapter 4 guides DMs in how to... That is really weird how they wrote that. DMs in how to craft atmospheric adventures, the spookiest scenarios will fall flat if you and the other players aren't prepared to engage in some degree of surprise. By the same token, the DM can't craft a enjoyable spooky experience if they're not aware of your interest in the thresholds for participating in fear-focused adventures. This section highlights elements common in frightening D&D games, features that you should be mindful of as a player, and that will help you create a character prepared to participate in suspenseful adventures. But it all begins with one question. Who are you? Oh, that's sad. Oh no. This is I really wish I might actually just go grab it, because it'll sound so much better, especially in a reading situation. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab a different microphone. That is right Oh shoot. I want to break it. Got so many chords all over the place in here. It's crazy. I'm gonna try to get as close as possible, but not too close. So I don't want to hit it with my chin when I'm looking down. I'm gonna plug this in real quick. This probably sounds so much better. Here we go. Change this real quick. Let's see. I have to make sure I know which one I'm filtering in. Nope. Actually, that worked. Nope. Play mixer. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Sounds. Here we go. Recording. Okay. So it's the Realtek audio. Okay. Realtek. So, oh my gosh, that's so much louder. My volume's speaking. Yeah, that's so much better. Holy crap. Yeah, we're gonna be using this for a second. How's this sound? This is a lot better, in my opinion. Turn that down a little bit so it doesn't peak. Yeah. Yeah, you should be able to hear me a lot better now. A lot better. I forgot how good this little microphone is. I was like, this would be perfect for a reading. Oh shit, I hit the camera. Yeah, that looks so much better. I don't know what it sounds like, but it looks a lot better. And then I have to, start with a lower voice. More of a reading voice in this situation. A little bit more bass, basically. You've been invited to play a scary game. You want to play a game. What does a horror adventure or campaign mean? Who's it to... wow. For English, it's so hard sometimes. Who's it supposed to be scary for? I hate when they did a dash and then you have to actually take a second to read a word. It's annoying. I like how sometimes it automatically drops it down, but I guess they're saving space with it, I guess. To be scary for you, the player, or your character. Scary like a mystery cartoon or a slasher movie. What content makes it scary? What do you not want to see in a horror story? And basically just talks about wanting to be scared, character interpretation with the DM, and planning things out, because really it's about motivations for certain characters, which is the true horror. And then just basically just talks about setting up the atmosphere and being prepared to get scared while you're playing. Nothing truly special in the situation. So we're just going to skip it over. Knowing your fears, leave them on the side. Nothing really that special. It's basically just setting an atmosphere. One thing this is a very big important thing, we're going to talk about lineages. Lineages are huge. And now we're actually going to talk for a second about this. Lineages are basically, it could be race, it could be traits, it could be languages, it could be special powers. But lineages are traits that you're able to get via basically your parents or your family line. This is something that was actually come up before with half species, like half orcs, half elves. What's interesting about those is that you can actually mix in a different subrace of human, which is variant human, and you can combine that with just being a half elf, because obviously you have parents of some type, and variant human actually gives you a free feat at level 1. So if you ever had and that was before lineages came out, that was just common sense because of being a half elf. However, now that I have lineages, technically, if you work it out with the DM and you can biologically come from an ancestry of some type, you technically could be part human somewhere in your legacy. I'm thinking legacy from Star Wars: Old Republic. But basically, it's like if you have some form of direct link to, let's say you're a half orc, right? And like 3 generations ago, the half came from a human, even though it's so far away. But since you're it's late at night. Since you're a direct descendant from that bloodline, even though it's so far away, you still get some of the traits. And that's something you really do have to work with the DM to decide if it's fair or not in the situation. I keep on hitting the camera. Oh no. But that's basically what it goes over. But they do clarify it a lot better, especially here with ability scores and languages. There is quick builds, but quick builds usually suck, in my opinion. And a lot of other people's opinions. Usually the stuff they give you in here is okay, but if you get mid to late game in D&D for levels of characters, you're going to get super outclassed real easily. What's cool about this is that for ability scores, when determining your ability scores, you increase one of those scores by 2 and increase a different score by 1, or you increase 3 different scores by 1. You follow this rule regardless of the method you use to determine the scores themselves, such as rolling for or point buy. Then he goes into languages. Your character can speak, read, and write common in whatever language that you and your DM agree is appropriate for the character. According to the player's handbook, offers a list of widespread languages to choose from. The DM is free to add and remove languages from that list for the particular campaign, which always happens, because you're not always going to be speaking Dwarvish or other things like Abyssal or Draconic. It's just not going to happen all the time. If you're replacing your race with a lineage, you retain any languages you had and gain no new languages. Creature type is a very interesting thing, especially with, which we'll probably discuss later, if not on another stream, the Dhampir race. They were in the UA, the Unearthed Arcana. When they were being built there, they were marked as 2 different species. They were marked as a normal humanoid, but they were also marked as undead, and thus they were affected by everything that was undead, like turn undead, destroy undead, you name it, raise, whatever, control undead, and take extra damage, whatever, based on radiant damage. But in this book, they did remove the undead tag from the Dhampir, so they don't actually have that problem. But of course, everything from the UA is always nerfed. It's never buffed, unless it's absolutely just trash when it's in the UA. But I'll go over the creature type. Every creature in D&D, including every player character, has a special tag in the rules that identifies that type of creature they are. Most player characters are humanoid type, which I've mentioned. Various options presented here tells you what your character's creature type is. Here's a list of games creature types in an alphabetical order. Apparition: Beast, Celestial, Construct, Dragon, Elemental, Fey, Fiend, Giant, Humanoid, Monstrosity, Ooze, Plant, and Undead. These types don't have rules themselves, but some rules in the game affect features of certain types in different ways. For example, the text of Cure Wounds spell specifies that the spell does not work on a creature type of construct. However, the Mending spell, which just repairs normal material, does actually heal constructs. That's a fun fact for you to know. Okay, so talking about the Dhampir, this is the first new race we're actually going to be talking about. Poised between worlds of the living and the dead, Dhampirs retain their grip on life, yet are endlessly tested by vicious hungers. Their ties to the undead grant Dhampirs a taste of vampires' deathless prowess in the form of increased speed, dark vision, and life-draining bites. With unique insights into the nature of the undead, many Dhampirs become adventurers and monster hunters. Their reasons are often deeply personal. Some seek danger, imagining monsters as personifications of their own hungers. Others pursue revenge against whatever turned them into a Dhampir. Still others embrace the solitude of the hunt, striving to distance themselves from those who tempt their hunger. The picture right there is actually a Dhampir rogue. which is a very obvious choice if you went for a class. Dampiers actually, which I'll talk about later, again, are considered one of the best grapplers in the game, just because of how they classify their bites. And we'll talk about that in a second now. Dampier hungers. Every Dampier knows a thirst slaked only by the living. Those who overindulge in their thirst risk losing control, forever viewing others as prey. Those who resist might find exceptional ways of controlling their urges, or suppress them through constant grinding restraint. And in any case, temptation haunts Dampiers, and circumstances conspire to give them endless reasons to indulge. While many Dampiers thirst for blood, your character might otherwise gain sustenance from the living. Their writing in here is kind of weird, because they're trying to save space. Roll on or choose options from the Dampier Hunger table to determine your attempts to character feat. So, since this is the first book we're talking about, I was actually thinking of going through the main books and just reading them with you guys. But roll tables, like I mentioned, you can use roll tables. You can. However, sometimes the roll tables are restrictive, because usually they're based on stereotypes of the certain topic they're on. Especially if we're in the player's handbook, which we might read in the future. Especially like ideal spawns, personality traits, and all that. They don't have everything, obviously. So take the roll table for a grain of salt. Some people like doing random rolls, but at least me and the people I play with, majority of the time, we make our own choices on the certain things that it's asking you to roll for or pick. Dampier hungers. I'm going to go ahead and read through the roll tables so you guys can hear what it says. D6, you roll, see which one your hunger is, obviously. Your hunger can be blood, which is 1, 2, flesh and raw meat, 3, cerebral spinal fluid, 4, psychic energy, which makes a lot more sense, 5, dreams, which also makes sense, and 6, life energy, which also makes the most sense. Dampier origins. Again, this is very subjective, so take it with a grain of salt. Dampiers often arise from encounters with vampires, often but not always. All manner of bargains, necromantic influences, and encounters with mysterious immortals might have transformed your character. The Dampier origins table provides suggestions. Number 1, this is at 8. You are a reincarnation of ancestor who is a vampire tyrant, which is kind of weird, but you know, whatever. Number 2, you're packed with a predatory deity, fiend, fae, or spirit causes you to share hunger. So that would make a lot more sense for like warlock types. The ancestor could easily be whatever. Number 3, you survive being attacked by a vampire but or forever changed. So you know, majority of the time, the way to become a vampire is being killed by a vampire bite, specifically in that fashion. Of course, you can do a ritual to do that too, but that's highly unlikely. Vampire bite is the easiest way to become a vampire, but usually you're just a spawn majority of the time. Number 4, a parasite lives in you and you indulge in hunger. That also makes sense. Something that's controlling you could be a mind flayer lava, where they like eating brains, and before they take over your brain by eating it, they force you to basically follow whatever the mind flayers want to do. So that kind of makes sense. 5, tragedy interrupted your transformation into an immortal. So you could been transforming into a vampire, but then something interrupted your transformation, leaving you in the state, which that's a pretty cool concept, and I like that. I pretty much had all of them so far. Number 6, you're a diminished form of an otherworldly being. Slaking your hunger hastens your renewal. This is basically saying that you're an actual entity of some other sort, and you're confined to a certain vessel, and as you feed, the more and more close you are to becoming back to what you were in the first place. So it's sort of like a curse, which is nice. Number 7, one of your parents was a vampire. Obviously the most easiest one. You can just do lineage, boom. Your Dampier is pretty easy. Number 8, a radical experiment changed your body, making you reliant on another people's vital fluids. Definitely more of a Frankenstein thing. We won't see that much of that kind of stuff in D&D though, unless you're specifically running it for story. If you're doing a Ravenloft kind of story, most likely you'll see it somewhere in there, but it's not going to be the main topic unless it's made that way by the DM. But I would say the easiest ones for you to choose here would be number 7, which is your parent the vampire, or number 5, where you're transforming into a vampire but somehow you're interrupted, which could easily be done by a cleric of some type. And then it goes over the different Dampier's domains of dread, Barovia, Darkon, Ikath, the different cities, different vampire types, which is interesting. Each one's based on a different vampire style from different cultures in real life, which is nice. Dampier's traits. Creature type is humanoid. As I mentioned before in the UA, it was marked as undead. Obviously, they were opened up to literally being controlled by any kind of cleric class character, and thus they took that away because the player controlling another other player's character is pretty much out of the rulebook unless you're both fine with it. However, since they took it out, that's no longer a problem. This is interesting here. You are medium or small. You choose the size when you gain this lineage. So, again, that's sort of based on what you were to begin with. If you transformed into a Dampier, it would be whatever your race was when you transformed. If it was your ancestor lineage where you came from a vampire parent, it would probably be one of those two, or it could be a half-breed, sort of like half orcs, half elves. Your speed is 35 movement speed, which is actually really good. A lot of players start off with 30. It does mention earlier about Dampiers that they become more naturally dexterous, and that makes sense why there's a 5 increase into speed. Ancestral legacy. If you replace a race with this lineage, excuse me, my voice is a bit dry now. I'm not used to talking as much. You can choose to replace it, or you can just become it. If you replace a race with this lineage, you can keep the following elements of your race: any skill proficiencies that you gain from any climbing, flying, swimming speed that you gain from it. If you don't keep any of these elements, or you choose this lineage as a character creation, you gain the proficiency in 2 skills of lead choice. It depends on, did you become one, or did you choose to be one to start off with. Dark vision. You can see in a dim light within 60 feet of you as if it is bright, and darkness as it is dim. You discern colors that are in shades of gray. When it comes to dark vision, the half-elves definitely take the cake. 60 feet is okay. However, in comparison to the elves definitely beat the Dampiers in that trait. Deathless nature. So the undead trait is coming back in. These next couple of features that you get. You do not breathe. Deathless nature. Boom, done. You can walk on water. You can get into space. There's no oxygen. You don't have to breathe because technically you're undead, at least partially. Spider climb. You have the climbing speed equal to your walking speed. In addition, at 3rd level, you can move up, down, and across vertical surfaces and up and down ceilings, and leaving your hands free. Basically, you can walk on walls. Basically, Spider-Man, but better. You literally can just walk forward towards a wall and then just take a step and start walking straight up the wall without horizontally up the wall. In comparison, if you're still standing on the ground, it's really good. It's basically the boots of the spider walking, which is really, really, really good. And it's really good for making traps. And that's only at 3rd level. Means a lot of campaigns start at 3rd level, so I mean that's pretty early on. I don't understand really why they did that. I think it might have just been more broken at 1st and 2nd. But like I said, however, a lot of times people start at higher levels, so that really doesn't really change much. If you're doing like a module where you have to be a specific level, or you're doing Adventurers League where you start at a specific level, then it makes a lot more sense. And of course, for the main piece of cake here, we have Vampiric Bite. However, this is extremely nerfed version of a normal Vampire Bite, because having a player character have a Vampire Bite, it would be broken as freak. Your Fang Bite is a natural weapon. Note that, it's a natural weapon, which counts as a simple weapon, which is also something we're going to talk about here for a second. So with simple weapons, there's plenty of buffs that you can get from spells that say on your next like melee weapon attack, and since it counts as a simple melee weapon, you can actually stack like smites from clerics onto it. It's definitely ridiculous because all that is added into the points of damage, which we'll worry on in a second. Which counts as a simple melee weapon with which you are proficient. You add your Constitution modifier instead of your Strength modifier, which is nice for tanks, to attack and damage rolls when you attack with Bite. It deals 1d4 piercing damage on hit. While you are missing half or more of your hit points, you have an advantage on attack rolls you make with this Bite. So, the lower you are in health, the better accuracy it has, because you're starting to get desperate because you need energy back. When you attack with this Bite and hit a creature that isn't a construct or undead, you can empower yourself with one of the following effects. You regain hit points equal to the piercing damage dealt by your Bite, and this is something we're going to talk about real quick. So it says you regain hit points equal to the piercing damage dealt by the Bite. So in the UA, it was just pure damage. So whatever buffs like smite and stuff you did or added on top of it when you bit, you got all that back. Now it's just the piercing damage. So the max you can do would be to crit, which would allow you to either roll 2d4s or just double the damage. So the max you could get would be 8 piercing damage, and it's set so you would heal. Or you can choose another one. You get a bonus to the next ability check or attack roll you make. Bonus equals the piercing damage you dealt. The secondary one would definitely probably be better in crowd control situations. So you can actually add that. Yeah, definitely more crowd control situations, or if you want to actually want to hit. Because it says attack roll you made, so you could actually. I wonder. It says instead of your string, Fang becomes natural weapon. I'm just making sure. I'm reading back to make sure. It doesn't say if it's an attack action or not. By itself, I could see it as a bonus action. It doesn't actually. I don't think you're going when you attack with this Bite. See, it says attack. It doesn't say what. I'm assuming it's an attack action because it does say attack with this. So I'm gonna say it does take an action. However, I bet you could figure out a way to make it a bonus action to do it, just like monks can punch. They do use martial weapons, not simple weapons, so you might not be able to do it with monks, but I bet there is a way to make it a bonus action. Because if you could do that, then you could easily add that stuff, the bonus that you get from the next ability check or attack roll you make. That would be a nice kind of combo. So you go ahead and do bonus action Bite, and then power your action on the next attack, which you could actually buff with certain things like runes from Runite. Runes from Runite activate with it. It's not a bonus action to activate the runes with them. They just activate when you use your attack. You can empower yourself with this by a number of times equal to proficiency modifier, and you regain all the expended uses and finish on a long rest. A lot of times these days in newer books, especially this one in the last, and Tasha's as well, they're definitely using the proficiency modifier as a scaling option, which kind of balances everything else because it's based on your level, which is really nice. And I do agree with that. I really do like that because it allows it to be the same amount of impact throughout the whole entire game, no matter what your level is, because it scales to the level you are. So, from DM tiers, we go to Hexbloods. Hexbloods are honestly my least anticipated race that we're going to be talking about. So, Hexbloods are part hag. Either you made a deal with one or becoming one. I don't personally like them, but I just don't like hags in general. Yeah. But they get similar things. I'm just gonna go over because I personally don't like them. Most likely, unless you're playing like a Fae-ish kind of backstory or campaign. Basically, when it comes to here over here, where it says here they are hags, basically it's if it's your parent, if it's your your patron, because hags can be patrons. If you made a deal with them or they tricked you, basically you can become one. Also, somebody can just turn you into one. So it's very simple. Creature type. This is interesting though. It doesn't even say humanoid. It says Fae. Take it as mutts, but there are spells that do say Fae in their effects. However, there's also ones that say humanoids, and since you're not humanoid, you aren't targeted by that. However, I haven't really fully looked into that, so I can't say precisely certain things. I just know that as Faes, there are Fae monsters. There are specific things that do things to Fae monsters. Size, medium, small, just like last time. Speed, 30. It's not 35 because Dampiers actually get 5 minute speed increase because they are Dampiers in nature. Vampires in nature-ish, so they get a speed increase. If you replace race with a lineage, blah blah, we already went over that with Ancestral Legacy. Dark Vision, same thing. The Eerie token as bonus action, you can harmlessly remove a lock of your hair, one of your nails, or one of your teeth. This token is imbued with magic until you finish long rest. While the token is imbued in this way, you take one of these actions. Personally, that's just weird. Because it says you can remove them harmlessly, but that doesn't mean it will grow back. So, I would definitely, as a DM, would definitely monitor that because that is not an infinite amount of stuff. It doesn't say it grows back, so. Actions you can do with them. Telepathic message and remote viewing. We're going to do the message first. As an action, you can send a telepathic message to a creature holding or carrying the token. As long as you are within 10 miles, the message can contain up to 25 words. Remote viewing, if you are within 10 miles of the token, you enter a trance as an action. The trance lasts for 1 minute, but it ends if you dismiss it. And you're incapacitated during this trance, you can see and hear from the token as if you are located where it is. While you're using your senses of the token's location, you are blinded and deafened in your normal incapacitated body. Unless you're a token using this feature, you can't do so until you finish a long rest, at which point your missing parts regrow. So, at least with remote viewing, your part does regrow whatever you use. That is nice. However, in telepathic message, it does not say that. So, remote viewing is would probably be the only beneficial thing. I'd say telepathic message would definitely be something you would have to do in very very particular situations, so you don't run out of supplies to actually do it. What's up, Spice Man? How you doing? GSW has entered chat. Sorry, I don't know how long ago you said that. Spice Man. Spicy. My throat is so dry. Hex magic. You can cast Disguise Self and Hex spells with this trait. Once you cast either of these spells with your trait, you cannot cast this again until you finish the long rest. You can also cast these spells as spells using any spell slots that you have. You can also cast these spells using any spell slots you have. Intelligence, Wisdom, Charisma is your spellcasting ability for these spells. Choose ability when you gain this lineage. So I'm reading that as you can use them once per time till you rest. However, you could cast it again if you sacrifice a spell slot. And then, of course, it talks about becoming a hag because you are part hag, and this is like a beginner state before you become a full hag. Hags can undertake a ritual to inversibly transform a hexblood and create it into a new hag. Either one of these, their own kind of that embodies hexblood's nature, requires both the hag and hexblood to be in the same place, consent to link the ritual. Blah blah blah. Don't become a hag, because once you become a hag, you become an NPC. So, highly suggest if this is not like becoming a hag is not the end goal for your character, don't do it, because once you do that, you will not be able to play your character anymore, unless of course it's homebrew by the DM. So this is Reborn, which is also one of the more interesting ones, because they can be Frankensteins, they can be Frankensteins, they can be just spirits that somehow are bad. Some that can be resurrected by necromancers, and then have somehow found their own control. I'll read a little bit. Lost memories. Basically also reborn. When they're reborn, they lose all the memories of their previous self. You can actually play that into the story as you start having flashbacks and going places that you're at before as that person, and you start regaining memories over time. Reborn origins, I did mention that. Either you were made magically, you were resurrected by some form, got your own control over again, or you died such a horrible fate that you just couldn't move on, but how you lost yourself in between and came back, basically. Nothing that special. They do have different domains of dread. However, we're not going to go over that right now, because in the future, if we go over the domains of dread, I'm just going to say what they are when we get there. And now we're just going over traits, which is really what people are caring about. So, they are humanoid, they are not undead, and they're not fae, they're just humanoid. They're medium small, walking speed 30, legacy, same thing with their deathless nature. This is different than the deathless nature from the DM here. You have escaped death, a fact represented by the following traits. Benefits. You have advantage on saving throws against disease and being poisoned. You have resistance to poison damage. Now, to clarify, resistance to poison damage means you half the damage. It's not that you're immune to it, you just half it. You have advantage on death saving throws, which is nice. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. You don't need to sleep, and magic can't put you to sleep. You can finish a long rest in 4 hours if you spend those hours in active motionless state during the retained consciousness. Basically, it is Sentry mode for Warforges. Basically the same thing. They don't need to sleep, but they are in a magical Sentry mode where their consciousness is still around and they only have to sleep for 4 hours. Pretty much. Yeah, I'm tired too, man. I know it's a little bit late, and honestly, I honestly am just going to go over the, damn it, it's so dirty over here. I'm honestly just going to go over the new races, and then I'm probably on the stream, and I need to wipe down my desk, it's so dusty. Anyways. Knowledge from past life, this is something I was talking about. You temporarily remember glimpses of your past, perhaps faded memories from ages ago or a previous life. When you make an ability check that uses skill, you can roll a d6 immediately after seeing the number of the d20 and then the number of d6 to check. You can use this feature number of time equal to your persistent bonus and your gain all expended at long rests. What be going on? I guess we're going to go on a little bit longer. We're actually going to talk about dark gifts. Now, dark gifts are usually in trait of something. Sometimes you can actually gain dark gifts from ancestral stuff, like your parents made a deal. Dark gifts also could be from your parents mated with some kind of dark deity, and the gifts passed down to you, or you just had a weird accident with a dark spirit and it just happened to rub off on you, basically. Like you're in the presence of such a powerful force that it's like a ambient residue of its energy was infused in you or something like that. That's basically what the dark gifts can come from. Majority of the time, dark gifts are just like contracts usually. They're not like for your soul, but it's pretty close. Basically, you support them, and if you don't do what you're supposed to do, they can take it away. It's basically like a warlock, pretty much. Like I said, Eldritch Invocations, that's pretty much what they are. They are more powerful than Eldritch Invocations, at least the early level ones. But we are going to talk a little bit about them. And then talks about different things about how they got them and such. I did read through these. Some of them are not as powerful as others. Some of them are just more of messing with your character kind of thing. However, some of them are actual things. Some of them are actually just like spirits that haunt you kind of thing. A lot of rolling tables in this situation. And Echo Soul is interesting. Basically, you get proficiencies and more skills and such, like reading, writing additional language. You can also use the Intrusive Echoes feature, which allows you to basically reroll something. It's nothing that super special. It's not like an active power, it's just more of a basic thing. It's not that bad because majority of the time you're using basic things rather than an actual active power. Of course, if you fail to save, then you have to be affected by one of the Intrusive Echo effects, because it is good in certain situations. So that's the thing is with dark gifts is that usually they're good and then they have their bad sides. They're sort of like cursed items. They have a benefit and they have a downside. Pretty much that's what they are. Whispered spirits are just like spiritual beings that you can see only, and sometimes other people can see them. They can help you, but also they could also drive you insane kind of stuff. There are voices beyond, and then you have to roll. Yeah, actually, and the same thing with Shadow Court. You actually roll to see what happens rather than an actual thing. And what's cool about Living Shadow, which is the Shadow Court's under, basically it's like if you ever saw Princess and the Frog and you saw the evil, the main evil character, the Shadow actually did things. So the Shadow can actually do strikings. Of course, it also can do something where, so it can actually kind of control you if you fail a saving throw. And for me, I don't like my character being controlled by others. I actually have characters that actively go against that, because no one likes that. No one does. Because remember, you personally connect on a deep level with your character, and when it doesn't become your character anymore, you're just sitting there awkwardly. Mistwalker is basically just like a freaking dark gift, all about misty stepping, mist traveling. It is okay. Second Skin is pretty cool. Second Skin is what more I would have envisioned in a dark campaign like this. It's basically a transformation of some type. Some of them are being like exaggerated form of your own, hybrid form of human or beast, angelic or demonic, or some kind of monstrosity, a vaguely human-shaped creature made of slime. It is very interesting, and I know exactly why that's there. If you like shape, either brooding or passionate, a body constructed metal, stone, or machinery, this is a transformation ability that when you use Alter Self, it allows you to get to your second form. Environmental. Basically, in this, it allows you to, not only really allowing you to, but forces you to change based on DC 15 charisma saving throw based on a certain condition, which is called Chain Catalyst. in the catalyst, you have to pick a certain thing. It doesn't have to be on the list, like I said before, on these roll tables, but you have to choose a condition that transforms you. It could be like a werewolf with the full moon. If it sees the full moon, it transforms. But it could literally be anything. It could be you see a duck quack and that freaks you out and that triggers your transformation. I don't know. It literally can be anything. I mean, this one, another one right here is hearing a particular melody, hearing temple bells ring, seeing somebody that resembles a certain person, a loved one. Symbiotic. I mean, man, I'm definitely tired. Basically, something that benefits you and benefits it. Same thing with like watchers. I think that watchers would definitely be interesting because they're actually kind of manifestations that you can see and act. Borrowed eyes has an action you can influence the present guiding for the watchers for 1 hour. You gain advantage on intelligence. Investigation, perception checks, and you can't be blinded. Once you use this feature, you can do it in that. Dread, presence, you have disadvantage on charisma, deception, performance, persuasion against creatures that you see that can see the watchers, and you have disadvantage on throws against their scrying spells. You can temporarily disperse and hide the watchers with some effort with 1 minute of work. DC 15 charisma, animal handling check. You express the borrowed eyes and dread presence in 1 hour. Once you successfully suppress features, you cannot do so for another long rest. So you can use it, but it also is against you. I could definitely see watchers as a sort of like a warlock companion, pretty much. This does go into the subclasses. However, I am actually going to go ahead and stream pretty much right here. Go ahead and move that over. My voice is actually worn out because I did work today and I talk a lot because I am in a public store, but my voice is extremely dry. I don't know why. However, it is 10:15, so we are going to end the stream there. Oh, sorry, I kicked the camera. I know we only went over a little bit, but reading takes forever. Anyone that's listened to an audiobook would understand that. But I was thinking of doing a series maybe in the future where we start from the player's handbook and actually going over chapters, maybe, and we can go through that and go through the DM's guide and monsters manual, stuff like that. And I can go over the different things, what I agree on, what I disagree on, things I would change, and how things can function in a certain way. If you guys are interested in that, just go ahead and hit the like button to show your interest. Leave comments also showing your interest in the description after the video is posted to the channel. And if you guys have not yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you're notified whenever I start streaming, as I only do streams and I do not upload, and probably won't do so ever, pretty much, unless I decide to make this a full-time thing, which I probably won't. So just go ahead and hit the notification bell, that way when I start streaming you're aware, instead of me just dropping in Discord. But if you guys do enjoy, like I said, hit the subscribe, like, comment, share, you know the deal. All the YouTubers say it, and I'm not going to be that annoying. So I hope you guys enjoy tonight, and I will get